Back here on SportsLine, an update from Bridgestone Arena in a wacky second period. We told you the Preds played a dominant first period with the first two goals of the night. Well, a couple of mistakes lead to two quick goals from the Capitals. That tied the game up at 2, and then just moments later, Philip Forsberg comes back down on the other end of the ice and scores his 100th career goal to give the Preds the lead back. So crazy stuff going on in the second period over in Smashville. Preds leading the Capitals 3-2 at this point. Said earlier, Butch Jones relieved of his duties in Knoxville on Sunday, a day after a 50-17 loss to Missouri that was the worst loss Tennessee has ever suffered to an unranked team in the poll era. Just an ugly, ugly performance there. Tennessee drops to 0-6 in the SEC this season. Obviously have to win their final 2 games to get back to the postseason, keep that bowl streak alive. It was spiraling out of control, and so John Currie, the new athletic director, knew this was a possibility, and Sunday he finally made the decision to get rid of Butch Jones, fire him, giving him an $8.5 million buyout on the way out the door, but moving Tennessee football into a new place where he's going to look for a new leader to come try to get them over the hump in the SEC East and as a football program to return them to a championship type of thing. The most amazing stat, well, actually there's two. Two amazing stats to me about where Tennessee football is right now. In the short term is the fact that they have now lost their last meeting to every single SEC school. All other 13 schools are on a current winning streak against Tennessee. That is an incredible stat if you're a proud Tennessee football fan. And several of those are long losing streaks, and who knows if they can turn that around against either LSU or Missouri here this weekend. But that seemed to be an unfathomable thing for Tennessee fans not all that long ago. And now, losing to Kentucky isn't such a shock. Losing to Vanderbilt isn't a shock. Those types of things have become a part of what this program is, unfortunately, right now. So that's part of where they are, and that's part of why this decision was made, is the fact that they were losing traction against their SEC peers. But this isn't just a Butch Jones thing, and to illustrate that, dating back to 2007, Fulmer's last year when they made it to the SEC championship game, Tennessee has exactly 1 season with a winning record in conference play. And that was 2 years ago when they went 5-3. So you're not talking about a program that's got some 7-1s or 6-2s anymore in the SEC. This is a program that has fluttered right around 500, and that's just where they've been. So I think Tennessee's a great program and should attract some good candidates. They're going to pay this time around. They've got some guys in the cupboard in terms of recruits and talent there that a new coach should be interested by. But this isn't a Tennessee team or a program that is what it was 10 years ago. They're going to need somebody to come back and get it back to that level. That's why this hire is so important. Take a phone call here. Again, phone lines are open, 737-7767. We'll go to line 1 and Joe. Joe, good evening.
Good evening. I'm not a Tennessee fan, but I have been watching and listen to people talk, and they act like that Butch Jones just got there. He's been there 5 years, and they supposedly had a lot of top recruits over the last few years. I watched the game Saturday, and they just got run all over. I mean, where's all these great players in?
Well, they've lost some guys to attrition. A few guys have transferred. They've been beat up by injuries, especially the last 2 years. All of that plays in, but you're absolutely right. There was a stat that was posted before that game on Saturday that Tennessee has had something like 48 4- and 5-star recruits over the last 4 seasons, and Missouri had like 6. Yet Missouri was an 11-point favorite going into that game and obviously won the game 50-17. So the only thing you can really point to is something fundamentally wrong within the program in terms of development and the culture that was going there. And, you know, I don't think it always started off that way with Butch Jones. I think his first few years he did a great job of influxing talent and building the program in the right direction, as he said, brick by brick along the way. But somewhere over the last couple of seasons, that culture has just crumbled. And finally it crushed him. And it crushed him this entire season, but specifically Saturday night in that performance in Columbia.
You know, I seen something in the paper about that he told one of their recruits that was coming in to find somewhere else to go.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I can't confirm that, and no one else, I think, has. So I don't know the validity of that report necessarily, but that's certainly not a good look if Butch Jones is trying to call up some of these recruits on his way out the door from Tennessee and urge them to go someplace else. That's not how it works in college athletics generally, and would be a bad look.
You know, I'm an Alabama fan, but I'm going to tell you, they just don't look like they've been good as they are right now as they have been in the past. And I don't know. I'm just not impressed with them. I know they're winning, but they're grinding it out, and their line don't seem to knock any holes for the running back. And the quarterback is supposed to be quick, but he's easy to sack. I don't understand that.
Yeah, and Joe, I appreciate the call. I think Alabama's a bit vulnerable. Now, I say that with the understanding that they're the #1 team in the country, and I think the team to beat right now, certainly in the SEC and going into the college football playoff. But this is a vulnerable team. It is not a team that looks as dominant as some of the Nick Saban additions do. I think you point to injuries some there. They've got some new guys up front on the lines that maybe aren't as punishing as they've been in the past. But now you get rid of that linebacking core. I mean, they're 4 down at linebackers because of injuries. And I think you see that wear and tear hurt them. I think you saw it last weekend in Starkville against Mississippi State. They need to get healthy. If they do, I think they've got a great shot. They're still going to be the favorite moving forward. But just because they're unbeaten, just because they're #1 in the country, they're not invincible. I mean, they're going to be in for a battle, I think, against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. I think they'll be in for a battle against Georgia in the SEC Championship and anybody they face in the college football playoff. Can they win them all? Absolutely. But I think they're going to be in for a battle, no question about it. Let's take one more call in here. Let's go to Randy. Randy, thanks for the call. You're on SportsLine.
Yes, sir. I'm a Tennessee fan. I believe Orange always have. I mean, my mama and my daddy were back in the 50s and 60s. But the best that program's been was when Fulmer was there. And why they got rid of him is still a mystery to me. I mean, anybody's going to have a couple of bad seasons. And I think he's done a bit better with him than anybody. And I think he's, they'd be smart to get him back. And that's about all I got to say, and I'll listen to what you say.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Phil Fulmer, I don't know his exact age, but he's pushing 70, I think. So I don't think you're hiring him back to be your head coach at this point, but he will be consulted. John Curry's made an effort to bring Philip Fulmer back into the fold and make him part of some of the decision-making around there. So I think he will be consulted as to who the next coach is. And the story of Philip Fulmer, to me, is ultimately a be careful what you wish for tale for college fans and college administrators out there, because you're right. I mean, that was a decade that was probably Tennessee's best decade when it comes to football, just overall records and what they did. They obviously won a national championship in there. His final season, they were in the SEC championship game. And when you look at the job Philip Fulmer did, now, did they lose some traction at the end? Urban Meyer went into Florida. They became a dominant program. That's a factor. Georgia was humming along under Mark Richt. That's a factor. I mean, all those things play into this, and that bothered Tennessee fans who were used to winning the East for so many years under Fulmer. They felt like he was losing something. But when you have that level of success and you think all of a sudden you can get rid of that coach and replace him with someone who will be better automatically, oftentimes it doesn't work out that way. And the decision to get rid of Phil Fulmer has led to basically a decade of turmoil and dysfunction on Rocky Top. And now they're looking for a fourth coach in his wake since Phil Fulmer was there. And obviously that uncertainty has really rocked this program and knocked it down a peg in the national scale. Still a great program. I think going to attract a very good coach here. But it's not the same program that it was when Fulmer left or during the Fulmer heyday. It's just not. And that's the bottom line. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll get Will Healy, head coach of the Austin Peay Governors, on the phone. Talk about their remarkable turnaround and what's ahead this weekend for them as well. Stay tuned. You're watching SportsLine on News Channel 5+.